Gravely zero-turn lawnmowers, Jackson Lumber, Team Impact, Blue Moon Belgian White, and FindMassMoney.gov. On 98.5 The Sports Hub.
2-2. And that's the ball game. Swung on and missed. The Red Sox get one in the ninth, but a tough day offensively. Very sleepy with the bats. 4-2 the final.
Sleepy with the bats. I don't necessarily agree with that. Red Sox in Baltimore. I don't necessarily disagree with that. They were sleepy with the bats in Baltimore. They lose the game 4-2. In fact, it was a 4-0 game until late. Red Sox got themselves a couple of runs, but ultimately split with the Baltimore Orioles. This is where we are going to begin tonight on the Baseball Hour. 617-779-0985. We'll open up the phone lines right away so you can chime in. And Paul Perillo, of all people. And that came out kind of funny. Paul's a football guy, but Paul Perillo, of all people, and that's why I said that as my point. Paul Perillo, of all people, made the observation that the Red Sox split with the Baltimore Orioles, lost ground in the wild card race. They lost another game to the Kansas City Royals, are now 3 games out, I think it is, in the loss column, 3.5 overall. I'll give you the actual wild card standings here momentarily as I punch them up on my handy.
They're 3.5, Tony.
Handy dandy computer. 3.5 out, 3 in the loss column.
Their elimination number is 41, in case you're wondering.
They have played 123 games, I believe, which means you have 39 to go. You are 3 out in the loss column. So you can do the math. 617-779-0985. Here's my question for all of you, and we got a bunch of things we want to get to tonight. First of all, I do sense some level of frustration with Alex Cora, and I say some level. I'm not telling you it's acute frustration. I just wonder, because there was something Cora said after yesterday's loss that made me wonder about how he feels in some of these games. And simply put, I'll put it in these terms for you. Over the last 2 weekends, the Red Sox have played the Astros and the Baltimore Orioles. They've gone 2-5 in those games. Now, you can look at it, you can look at them independently and say, well, it was 0-3 against the Astros, and it was 2-2 against the Baltimore Orioles, which brings me to this question. The series against Baltimore, you go 2-2 in a 4-game series on the road. And we here on talk radio, particularly on Felger and Mazz and the Baseball Hour, live in a very sort of clear, delineated world. Good or bad. So you look at the Red Sox series and you say 2-2. Well, it's both. I don't want both as an answer. You are in the middle of August, approaching the end of August. You are in a playoff race. Going 2-2 against the Baltimore Orioles. Pass or fail. You got to pick one. Which one is it? Jimmy Stewart, pass or fail? And
fail.
Why? And why?
Because you need to go into Baltimore and make a statement. You need a sweep from that series to get yourself right back into the race. This 3.5 back is unacceptable.
Okay, so I'm less worried about the statement than I am the math. And if this series had taken place in May and the Red Sox went into Baltimore and split a 4-game series, overall I would say, okay, in the big picture, you'll take that. Baltimore's better than you. You're going to go into Baltimore and win 3 out of 4 or sweep, and sweep in a 4-game series against anybody is tough? No chance. Big ask. But at this time of year, when you are the team that is behind in a playoff race, when you are that club, you can't go in and just split, and as Paul Perillo noted, lose ground to the team directly in front of you in the wild card race. And that's Kansas City. Kansas City picked up another game during the series in Baltimore. So I don't know how you can look at that and think that it's a pass. To me, it's a fail. Now, Alex Cora was asked about this, asked about the series in Baltimore. And Jimmy, this is actually, I'm going to have to punch this up now because I don't remember the numbers of everything I sent you.
Should be cut to about playoff atmosphere.
I think that's the one, Jimmy. Let's try that. Cora number 2, please.
This last few days feel like, I don't know, maybe not a playoff atmosphere, but like you guys are in kind of pressure situations. I know you're managing that way, but like big games?
Every game is a big one for us. I've been saying that since Seattle. You felt that way at home, and every pitch matters, every pitch counts, and we're gonna keep doing that. We have a good team. We're in the hunt, so nothing changes. We split here. It doesn't matter what happens around us. You gotta take care of yourself. And we go to Houston, and we played well there. We do. So just go there tomorrow. We get Kikuchi, put some good at bats. Tanner's on the mound. We get a W, and try to win the series.
Okay, so Cora says that the middle part of that answer when he says, we split here, can't worry about everybody else, we take care of what we do, it doesn't matter what happens somewhere else. I disagree. This is the difference with this party year. It does matter what other teams do. It absolutely matters what other teams do. Early in May, it doesn't. You can go in Baltimore and you can split a 4-game series and you say, well, that's a team that's being picked to maybe win the World Series, win the American League, currently is tied for the best record in baseball, by the way. So, but in May, you're playing early in the year, you go in there, you split 4, absolutely. You're happy with it, you get out of Dodge. But when you go in there in the middle of August and you have to face the Orioles in a 4-game series when you are trying to make up ground in a playoff race, you've put yourself in a tough spot. Now you got to win the series. And in this case, you had to do it to prevent losing ground. As it was, you lost another game. Now you got to go to Houston. Here's the other part that I think should not be overlooked. The Red Sox were ahead in the series 2 games to 1 going into yesterday. And this is why I put yesterday's game in sort of a pile with the Houston series. The Astros are a playoff team that's playing well. They come into your ballpark. It's a statement kind of series. It's also an important series that's on your turf. The Red Sox got their asses kicked. And Houston saw the opportunity to bury them, and they did. And there were key moments in that series, specifically on Friday night. I went over this last week, but just to refresh your memory, Alex Cora sent 4 pinch hitters to the plate in the 7th inning of that game with the Astros. 4. He was trying to engineer matchups, and I always say those key situations, 2 outs and runners in scoring position, or even at bats with runners in scoring position, but specifically 2 outs, like 3rd down in the NFL. And you know what happens on 3rd down? You dial up your best plays. You put your playmakers in position to make plays. Our best against yours. Let's see what happens. Well, the same thing happens in baseball at this time of year. The intensity level increases, the focus increases, every pitch takes on a little more meaning, and those key spots take on all the importance in the world. So you know what happened yesterday with the Red Sox looking at an opportunity to win 3 out of 4? The Orioles showed up. They shut the Red Sox down. They led 4-0, and when the Red Sox made mistakes, the Orioles punished them for it. Cora knows this. Cora understands the difference between a talented roster and one in which you have to orchestrate every matchup to win a game. So those moves that the Red Sox made at the trading deadline, did they help? Yes. The overall depth of the roster, maybe. Cora has more options in the bullpen, probably more options on his bench. But does he truly have the right-handed hitter he needs for the middle of the lineup that would completely change the complexion of what the Red Sox are offensively? Not that that's a huge problem, but nonetheless, you get the idea. And do they have the kind of nailed-down, shut-down, lockdown relievers they need to match up with other teams in the late innings? Or are you going to end up with, Jimmy, what's the lefty's name again? Bailey Horn? Bailey Horn. Yeah. You're going to end up with Bailey Horn in a key at-bat against Gunnar Henderson in the middle innings of that game yesterday in Baltimore in what is one of the more important games of the year. Bailey Horn against a guy who might be the MVP of the league. So, you pardon the expression, you go into a gunfight with a knife, or you're taking a knife to a gunfight? Same kind of scenario. So this is what's facing the Red Sox. So I got a couple of calls on the line already. We'll get to those. I also want to get to Alex Cora's comment after the game in particular. Tell you what, let's sneak in a call right now with Nick in Providence. Nick, what do you got?
Hey, Tony. Yeah, so I agree. I think the Baltimore series wasn't enough. They had the opportunity to win that series among other series that they've had the opportunities to win, whether it's been a clean sweep or just winning when they've split. And when they are in the position that they're in, they need to be winning these series. And I think Cora is talking about we're not paying attention to these other teams. I think he knows that because they're not in the race right now. They need to figure some things out and catch up before they can start paying attention to these other teams. And tonight's a big game for them. I hope that they can get one for Houck, and Houck continues pitching well, because this will be two good starts that you could string together if they can pull it together tonight. So, that's what I have to say about the weekend series.
Thank you, Nick. So Nick calls the show a lot. He's brought up Tanner Houck in the past. And I will tell you, not solely because Houck is pitching, this is an important game tonight. It's one the Red Sox can win in Houston. I'll explain why at some point. I tend to get off track sometimes, but at some point during the next 30, 45 minutes, I will tell you why tonight's game, I think the Red Sox actually might have a little bit of an edge in defeating the Astros, whom they get their asses kicked by last weekend. Not this past one, the one before at Fenway Park. And Alex Cora's comment after the game that I thought showed a little insight into how he felt about this series with the Orioles as it pertains to the hand he's been dealt. We'll get to all of that when we come back on the Baseball Hour.
here.
Well, nobody hits a breaking ball in the entire league better than Gunnar Henderson.
Number 33 for the shortstop, and he knew it.
That was really the key at bat in the game yesterday. That whole inning, bottom of the sixth. To that point, it was a 1-0 game. In fact, it was 0-0 going into the fifth. Adley Rutschman homered for the Orioles to give them a 1-0 lead. But now you go into the next inning, and it's still a 1-0 game. You're right there. You're right there. The Orioles only had 3 hits in the game, as it was yesterday. 2 of them were home runs. But you get to the sixth. It's 1-0. Cutter Crawford has been very good for the most part in that game. He starts the inning with 2 strikes against the number 9 hitter, Ramon Urias. And then ball, he walks him. 4 straight balls. Then the next 2 pitches to Cowser, ball 1, ball 2. On the third one, he hits him. Now he's missed the strike zone on 7 in a row. 7 in a row. So, again, this is self-destruction. And this is what happened to Crawford in the last game. Then O'Hearn hits a ball to the right side of the infield that Casas backhands, tries to start a 3-6-1 double play. Rafaela throws the ball wide of first base. So, again, Crawford is now running to first from the mound to first base to cover first for Casas. So it's a 3-6-1 double play. Rafaela throws the ball in such a manner that it tails away towards the first base side. To me, the error 100% on Rafaela, not on Crawford at all. But you fail to turn a double play, which is exactly what happened. Now, it wouldn't have gotten them out of the inning, but it would have eliminated a base runner. It also allowed someone to score. So instead of the bases empty with a man on, I guess that would have been third, you then have a run in and a runner still on. Henderson comes up, hits a 2-run homer. Now you're down 4-0. Maybe you pitch Henderson differently if it's a 2-0. I don't know. I'm asking. Alex Cora was asked this question. I think this is Jen McCaffrey of The Athletic who asked the question.
It is. We love Jen.
Okay, and Jen McCaffrey, Jen contributed to the program last year. Jen asked Cora about Crawford now basically falling apart in the 6th inning, 2 starts in a row. If you remember the start before this one, Crawford had a perfect game going through 5 innings and then melted down, fell apart. Same thing happened basically in Baltimore, more dramatic, which we'll get to here momentarily. But I want you to listen to Cora's whole answer because the home run to Gunnar Henderson was given up by Bailey Horn. Cora brought in a lefty to face a lefty. You heard Lou Merlone say there that Henderson hits a breaking ball as well as anybody in the league, as anybody in baseball. But Cora's playing left on left there. I want you to listen to Cora's whole answer. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Each of the last 2 for Cutter, helps cruise through 5 almost, and then the 6th comes and sort of, obviously their 10th and all that, but...
Yeah, I mean, the red flag was a walk, and then the command was off, I felt. So, you got to trust the roster, right? And, Horn, he made some good pitches early on, 2-1 cutter, foul ball, and then curveball that stayed there, hit out of the ballpark. But we had our chances later on, and we weren't able to catch him.
Okay, and so the interesting line there to me is you got to trust the roster, right? You've got to trust the roster. So I took Crawford out. I went to Horn. Now, there are 2 things Cora's doing there. One, he's telling you why he took Crawford out of the game. Crawford had lost his command, which, by the way, if you were watching, is true. The 7 straight balls that he threw, more than half of them, at least 4 of them, missed the strike zone by a mile. It's the strangest thing. Like, he gets to a point, and then all of a sudden, can't hit the side of a building. So Cora looks at it and says, this guy's losing it again. Now I got to go to the bullpen. So he got Bailey Horn up. It's going lefty on lefty. You tell me, before this year, had you heard of Bailey Horn? Could you do better left on left than Bailey Horn? My answers to those two questions would be no and yes. No, I had never heard of him. Yes, you can do better. You're the Red Sox. But this is where they are. Stopgap patchwork measures. You got to trust the roster, Cora says. Which I take as, hey, what do you want me to do? Crawford can't throw a strike. He gets to 75, 80 pitches, which is something Lou Merloni noted in the broadcast. He gets to that number and the stuff changes, and all of a sudden he can't hit the side of a building. So then what do I have to do? I got to bring in a lefty to pitch to a guy who might be the MVP of the league, and he belts one into the seats. Because in this ballpark, you got to have left-handed hitters. The Orioles have 1 million of them. So I go lefty on lefty, and this guy hits one into the seats, and now we're down 4-0. Their bullpen nails it down, although we did make some noise late. We just couldn't break it open because they have real relievers and a real lineup. Now, again, that's me putting some of those words in Cora's mouth. But the point is that there was a time when the Red Sox didn't have to play matchups. They'd go with their best pitchers who could get righties and lefties. They could go with their best lineup that could hit lefties and righties. And the other team had to worry about matching up. Now it's the opposite. So, is it asking a lot for them to go into Baltimore and win 3 out of 4? Yes, it is. But under the circumstances, that's what they needed to do this past weekend. Instead, they lost another game to the Royals, and now they're 3.5 out overall in the wild card, 3 in the loss column with 39 to go. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Go back to your calls. Danny is in a Fenway concourse. Is that right? You there now?
Oh, no, that was 2 weeks ago, Tony, when I called in. You were on vacation. We were talking about tea leaves, and then you tapped out at the deadline. Listen, Tony, I'm freaking fired up. This shit.
Danny, Jimmy, I think he just swore, right?
He did. We got it.
Okay, so...
except the stream. The stream wins again.
Yeah, Danny, I'm putting you on hold. We're not going to drop you. I'm going to bring you back. First of all, you can't swear. But what I was going to tell you is that during the summer, July and August, Fridays, I'm usually off. Okay? And the vacation week with the deadline was sort of an unforeseen thing. It was a little bit of a wild card. But anyway, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was on a concourse a couple weeks ago. Tony, I really, honestly, I've said to you so many times over the years, and I'll say it again, I liked what we were doing in regards to the Tampa model of rebuilding the farm system and getting that going. But as you have mentioned over the years, this is the Boston Red Sox. And while it took us till 100 years to win another one when Babe Ruth left, where we needed a 20-game winner, I'm not saying Chris Sale. He probably would have broke down and broke his wrist on a bicycle on Sturrow Drive or something. But we need a starting pitcher that can win 20 games. We need some relievers. It's time for them to spend some money, and whatever they got to do this winter at the meetings, get it done. We pay a premium price to watch this team, and they're neglecting their fans. It's not right, Tony.
Okay, so Danny, the one part that I sort of always gets me a little bit is the idea of we pay a premium to watch the team. There is some choice in that, and I'm not telling you. The point is the priority is to make the team good. It's not just about what you're paying to watch them. It's about what you expect. That's what it is. It's about what you expect. They owe you a good product and not solely for the money you spend on tickets. Purely because they can give you that. They're capable of giving you that. So whether you go to the games and pay for the tickets or not, or whether you're watching them on TV, you deserve a good team. They should be better than they are. They should be able to give you more than they are. Now, is that time coming? I don't know, but I'm getting tired of waiting for it like everybody else. It does sort of grate on you, wears on you. So I look at the series with the Orioles and I say, so this is what you're going to have to tank and suck and stock your team the way the Orioles do? The Orioles can do it their way. I think the Red Sox should be able to do it their own way. And the idea of the mixing and matching and playing matchups and let's get a lefty who gets lefty and a righty who can get righties, and then we'll pick the right hole for him or pocket in the lineup, and think of what that involves. Micromanagement to the nth degree. Here's a novel concept. How about having the best players? Instead of trying to slap the thing together with duct tape and baling wire and everything else all the time. There was a time when the Red Sox just got the best players. I like that model better, and it's way more entertaining. Way more. Although this team has been reasonably entertaining. Meanwhile, this Red Sox youth movement, there are lots of guys to be excited about. Kyle Teal, Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, Jimmy Stewart saw some of them over the weekend at Worcester. We'll get Jimmy's 2 cents on those guys. And I'll give you my 2 cents on another one who's already here and has been here, who frankly should drive you up a wall because I'm starting to wonder about how reliable he really is. Tristan Casas. Yeah, Mazz, what's your problem with Casas? I'll tell you when we come back.
4 months.
That I'm one tough son of a bitch for sure. I go out and put my best foot forward to get better every single day, pain or not. I want to get back on this field, and I'm hungry, and I want it really bad for these guys. However I'm feeling aside, that's what's most important to the team.
I'm a tough son of a bitch. I heard this one, I rolled my eyes. Tristan Casas rejoined the Red Sox over the weekend in Baltimore. They've needed him for some time. Not that their offense has been a problem. Dominic Smith did a fine job when he was in there, but he's not Tristan Casas. And there are certain guys in any lineup that when they step in the batter's box or the on-deck circle, you look at them and you say, okay, well, I got to be careful with that guy. All the good teams have him. Now, again, I don't know what Casas is going to be in the long term, but for this Red Sox team this year, he was supposed to be that. He got hurt early in the season, which, again, is not necessarily his fault. Okay, some guys train, they're not in shape, whatever, you get the idea. I actually think Casas came into camp in good shape this year. He looked to me lighter, leaner, and everybody was expecting a big year. He had an unusual injury. Basically broke a rib or tore rib cartilage and a rib injury from swinging a bat. It's unusual. Fine, no problem. It took him a month and a half or a month longer to come back than everyone thought. Now, is it possible they get the time frame wrong? Sure. 100% possible. I would also tell you that Alex Cora made a comment about 10 days ago that indicating that Casas was pretty much ready to go. Medically, he was cleared. He was just working on his craft, was the phrase Cora used, and he'll tell us when he's ready. So, Casas said a couple of other things in terms of when he was going to be ready, and I don't think I pulled this part of it, but in one of the cuts he said that he wanted his bat speed to get back to where it was pre-injury. Okay? In other words, I wanted to be able to swing the bat as hard as I did before I went down, which to me is he wanted to get to 100%. Well, it's August 19th. You're down to the final 39 games, and I'm giving you today's date. But how much longer are you going to wait? If you wait another week and we're 8 out, it's kind of moot. So I do wonder with any athlete about what types of things go into this decision-making process. Are you interested in winning? Are you interested in coming back and being able to produce? Because eventually you're going to be eligible for arbitration and free agency, and every stat in your resume will be used against you. What are your motivating factors for coming back? So a couple of these questions were asked of Casas. Jimmy, if we could play Casas 2 and Casas 3, let's play them in order. We'll start with number 2.
Yeah, it didn't matter where we were at. I was going to try to get back as soon as possible, but it makes it that much more exciting to come back, into a playoff environment. Okay, it didn't matter where we were at. Now, you can look at that one way and say, well, if we were out of it, I was still going to come back and play. Okay, great. But if you're in it, should the timeline be the same? Shouldn't where the team is in the standings make a difference? Because I think it should. And I would argue if Tristan Casas could have come back at 90%, it would have been worth it. I would say even 80%. The Red Sox lost a game last week against Texas in which they failed to turn a double play, in part because Romy Gonzalez came off the bag when he didn't have to. I'm talking about first. He was filling in at first base. Casas is 6'5" and has experience playing first. I don't think he would have had to come off the bag. Could that play have made a difference in the game? Maybe. I want him out there for more than just the bat. I want him out there for his presence, certainly for his bat, but also for his familiarity and his defense at first base. All those things. He owes something to the team for that. I think Cora, in alluding to it being Casas' decision, was trying to put a little pressure on the player. Casas didn't really respond to it. Jimmy, let's play Casas 3 while we're at it.
the process was slower than we all anticipated, but I took my time, felt like everything was perfect right now, the way I'm coming back, and yeah, I'm ready to get back to helping this team win ball games.
Okay, I took my time. Things needed to get back to a certain point in my mind. All right, great. Do you think the team had the same expectation? Because I don't. I think the team wanted him back quicker. And this is not unusual, particularly with young players. Some of them take forever. Some of them think, I'll take some time. I'll be okay. Jacoby Ellsbury was like that. Drove guys on the team crazy, drove the manager crazy. Didn't mean they hated him, just it drove them nuts. Dustin Pedroia, and I've told you this before, Dustin Pedroia would routinely bust Ellsbury's chops about being in the training room too long and being in there so frequently. The best year of Ellsbury's career happened when he played every day. Also happened in an arbitration year, which is neither here nor there, but whatever. You get the idea. All of a sudden, there was something at stake, and Jacoby Ellsbury played. There was something at stake for him. So, is Casas going to be one of those guys tanning in the outfield with no shirt, in a pair of shorts, so everybody can see him, becoming the media darling with ESPN, taking his time to come back? And by the way, in terms of the deadline, when you are on a rehab assignment in the minor leagues, there is a limit on the amount of time. It's longer for pitchers than it is for position players. Position players can play every day. Pitchers can take longer, particularly starters. So Casas's rehab stint was going to run out tomorrow. He had to come back at the latest tomorrow or the day after. He came back on Friday. So what? As a gesture of, of his good-heartedness, he decided to come back 3 days early? They could have used him against Houston. They needed him in that series. They need him now. And that was true 10 days ago. So that's my issue with Tristan Casas. Do you want to win, or do you just want to cash in and have a long career? You should be able to want both. Jeff in New Hampshire. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we should all be annoyed that Kansas City worked us both in the offseason and in the trade deadline. Urseg, Lorenzen, DeJong, they've all been very good for Kansas City, and they've picked up 5.5 games in the standings just this month. It might already be too late, but, if they get worked by Houston, they could be 5 or 6 out by the time Kansas City's hard schedule comes up, and that's just not acceptable.
Yep.
Thanks.
So, Jeff, look, you raise good points on all of them, and when you get to this stage, again, now you're 3.5 out, 3 in the loss column, and you're facing the Astros in Houston. They kicked your ass. The last time you played them, they kicked your ass. So now, basically, you're on the brink, because as you pointed out, if Houston beats you 2 out of 3, or let alone, or heaven forbid, sweep you again, you could be as many as 6.5 out by the time Wednesday night rolls around. If that's the case with 36 to go, that's a tough pull. So now you are running out of room. That process has started. Chris in Hartford. Chris, go ahead.
Hey, Mazz. So, yeah, Tristan, he's never been in this situation before. So we're going to find out a lot about him, okay? I think he's going to do very well. And this is why you gave Devers the money and kept him here, because he's a big-time player the last 39 games. He's going to come up big, you know that. But when it comes to Crawford, the thing that bothers me is this. He has a really good two-seam, but he doesn't use it inside early in the game. You get your benefit from pitching inside so you can get the nibbles on the outside corner to get you through the third time through the order. He doesn't do that. That's why he's giving up bombs. And Hulk, he didn't come up with a third pitch. That split sucks. 90 doesn't even move. We got some problems if they don't fix that, Tony. Have a good one.
Okay, Chris. Early in the year, his split, which is really more of a split change. David Cohn talked about this earlier in the year. It's a hybrid grip. He really holds it more like a changeup. But regardless, whatever. Early in the year, it was fine. All of Hulk's stuff has deteriorated as the year has gone on. He's never thrown this many innings. I think that's part of the problem. So the Red Sox knew this would happen with Hulk. They knew it.
Every time a team extends a young pitcher, and I say extends, asks him to increase his workload, they understand that he's going into territory he's never gone into before. There's likely going to be some sort of wall that he hits. They knew it was coming. They didn't really add any significant help. Their idea of pitching help was James Paxton, who they had and was cheap, and Rich Hill, who's costing them next to nothing. Now, look, I like both of those guys. But I also think that you could have done more. They didn't. So it's not. We can look at the problems with the existing pitchers and you say, well, Crawford's not throwing his two-seamer enough, or Houck has a lousy changeup. His changeup was fine early in the year. The issue is you needed more arms. They didn't get them. Not the ones you really need. I hope Rich Hill pulls it out of his ass. I hope that he completely, again, Rich Hill has his moments where he can completely mystify guys. I like the way Hill pitches. I don't need everybody to throw 95. But this is what you're relying on now. You're sort of grasping at straws, for lack of a better term, and trying to catch lightning in a bottle. The best bet for the Red Sox right now is Bayo. His outing over the weekend was good. And he's got stuff. So if Bayo, even if he just goes on a hot streak, I'm not saying he's unlocked some sort of secret that will stabilize him for the future. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. But even if he goes on a hot streak, it can help get them back in it. And because I think Houck will give you 5 good innings for the most part when he goes out there. And you can hit. And tonight against the Astros, let me just say this because I teased it earlier. Jimmy, who's pitching for the Astros tonight? Is it Kikuchi? I think it is for Houston. Pretty sure that is whom they acquired from the Blue Jays. The Red Sox kill this guy. Kill him. O'Neal's got a couple of homers against him. Devers has got a couple of homers against him. As a team, I think they're hitting over 325 against him. So the matchup tonight is favorable. Houston, for the most part, especially with Kyle Tucker still out, is the most dangerous hitters are right-handed except for Yordan Alvarez. If I'm Houck, don't let Yordan Alvarez beat you tonight. Okay, don't let him beat you. Pitch around him if you have to. I said earlier, Jimmy Stewart was in Worcester. He's got a little scouting report on some of the players he watched in those games. You'll get that next on the Baseball Hour.
Stay tuned.
Red Sox hyped up the arrival of 3 prospects in Worcester last week. Guess who went to see him?
Hi, Tony.
Jimmy Stewart. You were in Worcester over the weekend?
I was in Worcester on Saturday afternoon. Enjoyed a nice baseball game, a 3-0 Woo Sox win.
Okay, so you did you get to see all 3 new guys, or only a couple of them, or who?
I got to see Anthony and Teal because Mayer was probably being a bitch about an injury. And I got to see the suckbag that is Vaughn Grissom, even though he had a hit. Grissom, let me tell you about Vaughn Grissom.
Okay, but before you go on, let me just say we shouldn't call Marcelo Meyer a wussbag for we don't know why he was out of the lineup. It was I've rubbed off on you, Jimmy, clearly. Holy crap. Anyway, totally fine. I just don't want to disparage Marcelo Meyer. I like his first name too, by the way. Marcello.
There's a reason why he went 4th instead of number 1, but that's a side topic.
Okay, so all right, so let's start with Vaughn Grissom. He played in the game too?
He did. He was your cleanup hitter.
Really?
Batting under 250.
And how is Mr. Grissom? How's he playing?
He did have a base hit. He did make 1 piece of solid contact out of 4 plate appearances. But what I will tell you is he's got no command of the strike zone. Like his first at bat, right down the middle, bad swing at a slider that was way outside and couldn't adapt throughout the rest of the game, even though he did have a nice, admittedly, he had a nice hit to right field. But Vaughn Grissom, there's a reason why the Braves traded him, because he sucks.
Boy, what a horrible year this guy has had. This is the guy the Red Sox acquired for Chris Sale, for those who don't remember. This year at Worcester, he's batting .238, .680 OPS. Of late, I think the numbers are even worse since he went back there. But anyway, so Grissom...
He just looks lost at the plate, Tony.
Yeah, it feels like he's been lost a whole year. He's lost the whole season, Jimmy. You know, it's been a complete, total waste. Anyway,
and he's got an attitude like he's the cat's ass, apparently.
Yeah, well, maybe that's part of the problem. Okay,
it's like
who
the
else?
Braves gave up on you. Come on, dude.
Who else?
Roman Anthony, who went 0 for 4 on Saturday. He's only hitting $150. He's hitting under like $160 down there. But what I did notice...
Are we ready to write him off too?
No. Here's why.
Okay, go ahead.
Because it looks like he has command of the strike zone, and he's not swinging at bad pitches. He got robbed of a base hit on a diving play in his first at bat, and then there was another one he put a good swing on. But he looks like he understands the strike zone, and he's just adapting to barreling up the baseball and making good contact.
So, and I'll tell you, and I mentioned this to you before the show, this is what happened to Anthony when they moved him up to Double-A from Single-A. He had an adjustment period, and then he figured it out and started producing. And by the way, not totally unusual with minor leaguers. This, not that this is who you should compare him to. I'm just telling you, I got to go back to the days I covered the team, Jimmy. Trot Nixon, every time they moved him up a level, would struggle, sometimes for a whole season. And then he would figure it out and be fine.
So this is what happened when the Red Sox called up Dustin Pedroia. He struggled in September, April the next year, and then he figured it out.
Right, and some guys go through that in the minor leagues. So Andrew Benintendi, they put him in the minors. He hit like right from the get-go. It never stopped until he got here. And then that's a whole different story. And what was I going to say? Oh, and you know who's starting to remind me of Benintendi in terms of how he has ascended through the minors is Kyle Teal. What did you think of Kyle Teal?
I loved his at-bats. Again, he's somebody who looks like he understands the strike zone, where it's going. He put 2 really good swings on the ball, hit it where it was pitched, got his first hit in Worcester, scored on a double down the line from Jamie Westbrook, I believe it was. And he went first to home without hesitation on the double. And so he's got like that first to third speed. If Cora's playing a speed game, Kyle Teal fits right into that as a catcher. But I wasn't sure in talking to people around the ballpark whether they understood if Kyle Teal knew how to call a game or not. Okay. So that might be something that he's got to work on a little bit. But at the plate, Anthony and Teal, they look like they understood the strike zone. They made good swings on baseballs. Vaughn Grissom, not so much.
Okay. So Teal is an athletic catcher who's produced since he came into the majors, into professional baseball is what I should say. From the second he got drafted, he's been a good player.
So has really had no major skids. I'd have to go back and look at some of the particulars, but I think he's hit pretty much since he got here.
This is where, if you just look at numbers, the numbers would lie to you as far as how their development is going, at least based off of the one game I went to.
Yeah, and the game calling, Jimmy, is a work in progress for a lot of young catchers. But something I told you in the hallway before the show that I will repeat, might be less of a concern in this day and age, because I wonder how much of it is called from the dugout anyway. In fact, I still would love to know how much of this year's team is being called from the dugout with all those off-speed pitches. Anyway, that's it, Jimmy. Thanks for the scouting report.
Oh, my pleasure, Mazz. Thanks for having me.
There you go, Jimmy Stewart, minor league coordinator, offering his 2 cents on those guys down at AAA Worcester. Ryan Beaton's got your headlines here. Don't go anywhere. Joe Murray's got you for the rest of the night. No commercials here. We'll catch you tomorrow.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston.
Patriots!
It's an all-new season for the Patriots.
Wow.
And you'll hear it all right here.
Yes, yes, yes.
Your home of